Even in and especially in our darkest times, the light is still available. Right now, we are all being affected in some way by COVID-19, one way or another. Let's talk about it. These are heart to heart conversations about our challenges and positive experiences as we are moving through it. A place to safely speak about it and to be still and know the truth of who we are. Hello, and welcome to a Candid Corona conversation. This is Jeannie J, and today I am hanging out and having a good conversation with Faye. Faye, do I have your permission to share this video freely? And I also encourage you to do the same.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being willing to share and record. My highest hope is that our conversation will be helpful to someone and or that they'll find it comforting, because the reality is we're all affected by corona in one way or another, and finding meaningful ways to connect and have heart to hearts is especially a powerful thing to do right now. So thanks again for being willing to share.
No problem.
So we'll start out with a few, basic questions. And I've enjoyed reading over some of your answers, just so you know. So let's just jump right in with how you've been doing lately. I'd love to hear more about, you mentioned taking each moment as it comes and how that's kind of really different now, maybe even more pronounced now that we're having to be indoors more often.
Yes. Um, Pretty much taking each moment by moment, only because there's like an abundance of time freedom, and I'm grateful for it. At the same time, though, ADD. I have reframed it attention delivered on demand.
All right. All
So
right.
um, I notice my attention goes where I'm interested, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a task to stay focused and complete tasks that I've, set the intention to complete.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to be fully present in the moment, and be with any feelings or thoughts. Whereas if it was like I had something I needed to do,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't want to do it, or I didn't feel like doing it, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I had to really be present with why I didn't want to do it, and any emotions or thoughts that were coming up, and get up under it to see, what that was about. Um, because if I planned to move through it at some point, I needed to work through that aspect of it or whatever, versus just staying stuck and checking out, you know, doing all the other stuff that caught my interest.
Yes.
So it's been really um, therapeutic, and I've really learned what self-compassion means even more in going through this process. I've been taking 3 classes for ministerial school and the master's program, and I didn't really realize what that meant as far as study time until about 2 weeks in. And it was like, oh crap, what have I done? I thought it was 3 hours per class, but it was 3 hours per class unit. For whatever reason, I missed the unit part. And so 3 classes at 3 units per class, that's 9 hours a week of study time per class. That's 27 hours.
Yeah.
Whereas I was thinking it was only 9. And so by the time I got to the end, it was like, you know what? I've really overdid it technically. But I did good. I made it through it. I made it through all classes, and I was able to just be fully present to what I was experiencing and work my way through it. And so one of the classes that I was taking, spirituality in the brain,
Mm.
which dealt with meditation, compassion, and all of that stuff. So
Mm.
it was like what I needed at this point in my life, I had it.
Oh yeah.
It like
Isn't that funny how that all works out?
all the tools, all the information that I needed to move through this smoothly.
Right
It
on
was in the class.
time.
So yeah, I'm
Beautiful.
grateful. I am very grateful.
Powerful. So powerful. And I gotta say, I especially appreciate your attitude and intention towards getting up underneath what's really on the surface of what's causing you to lose your focus. Like, where's your focus being pulled to, and maybe why, and how to bring it back intentionally, because you've dealt with that, right? You've been with that, been one with that. So that's good stuff. And I can so appreciate too, as someone who is also, well, right now I'm taking the equivalent of 36 hours a week in classes, in integrative health classes.
Wow.
And funny enough, one of my classes this term is stress management slash mindfulness. And, it's just one of those things that reminds me, listening to you and thinking of that, of this larger rhythm of life, that we are all participating in. More often than not, we think we're driving or are the driving forces in our life, which in many ways we are, but it's a co-creation. And obviously, co means there's another, and for us, larger aspect of intelligence to it. So it's always, beautiful to see how it unfolds in practical everyday life. So yay. And let's talk to some more. I want to hear about some of these insights you've been having, that you've been having a little bit of extra time inside. How's that been working out for you in terms of, recurring themes or anything along those lines?
Um, there have definitely been recurring themes as far as noticing how much I think about food. Thinking about the next meal, and it's like, oh, you still got that running. Okay, no judgment.
Awesome.
But just
Practice.
being aware of it, that it's there, um, as well as knowing that I've practiced different behaviors over the years. And it's like, okay, if that's a pattern and you haven't released it, that's fine. Get some healthy foods in here, healthy snacks, because I grew up a snacker. I've never really been a big meal eater and sit down and eat a whole bunch of meals. I think growing up, I remember eating one or two full meals, but for the most part, I would just snack. I've never really been a big eater. So um, once I tuned into that, it was like, okay, let me buy a bunch of fruits and stuff that I can snack on throughout the day, where I don't feel like I'm like eating a big meal every single time I eat. The other deal is back to the compassion, being with my inner child, where my inner child is like, okay, we're stuck at home. This don't feel good. And so really just understanding, what did my inner child ask for? What did they need? What did they desire? Because it didn't even necessarily have to be a need. It was just a want, like Cheetos or ice cream sandwiches, like whatever. Because I remember when I was going through the store, um, trying to get toilet tissue and kind of being a little traumatized emotionally by the cleared shelves.
Yes.
Um, in being fully present, I was able to not only just feel my feelings, but I started to have compassion for other families, because it was like, okay, because my roommate had asked for ice cream sandwiches when I went to the store. I was like, do you want anything? So I'm looking for ice cream sandwiches and they were gone. And I was like, that's not a necessity. But I thought about families with kids and I was like, oh, I can't imagine what it's like to be going through this with a house full of kids. Or, it's not just me, like, because I'm just dealing with me right now. versus, you know, a husband or some children. So I
Mm-hmm.
just really started to feel for other people. Um, and it really helped me to stay mindful, to know the truth and know that this is going to pass and that this is only temporary, because getting sucked into the fear, that's not going to benefit any of us. So
Yes.
that
Yes.
was one of the things that was very apparent, like at the beginning. And then I've had some other insights, as far as like, so I work as a nanny by day. That's my work. Um, However, the family that I was with, that ended at the end of January, because they put the child in school. They put her in school, and so I had the mindset, okay, well, I have enough money. I'm going to take off a couple of weeks in February, because by this point I've realized I'm my study time is a full-time job almost. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, I'm going to focus on school so that I can make sure that this, you know, goes well. I'm going to finish. Well, I get about 2 weeks in and I was like, I need to keep going. I want to just focus on school and I'm not going to work. So I ended up taking all of February off, as well as half of, well, at this point, majority of March,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I'm still not working. However, I just realized how I kept paying my tithes. I kept with the circulation and I kept affirming, saying, prove me now. And, you know, the different affirmations that I say as far as income and abundance, knowing that I am the abundance expressed.
Yes.
And so, in me being able to do that, I noticed all of my February expenses were taken care of. All of my March's expenses were taken care of. Whereas I was only intending to take 2 weeks off in February.
Yeah.
And I've had just enough work in between to cover, you know, everything. And so it occurred to me, it was like, even now, I have, um, I've been off. I had a week off with pay. The
Mm-hmm.
family that I was supposed to work with them last week, because, you know, the child was out of school for spring break. Then she got sick, and then, you know, the lockdown. And so the parents, they had already booked me. And so they were like, hey, we apologize. You know, we understand that, you know, you've reserved this time. So we're
Mm-hmm.
still going to pay you. And so I'm like, okay, prove me now, God. Thank
All
you.
right. All
Right.
right.
And it occurred to me, it was like, oh, I've been trusting financially. Where am I trusting in my health? Where
Mm.
am I trusting that, you know, the physical ailments that I may be experiencing, God's got that too?
Mm. Mm.
Where am I trusting that in my relationship, in manifesting the relationship that I desire, God's got that too?
Mm.
So that came up for me a whole lot, and it was like, oh, okay. So I shifted immediately, because I was like, I already got it over here. Let me just put it over here.
That's
And I
right.
put it
That's
over
right.
here and put it over
Just
here.
rub that around a little bit.
Right, right.
Spread it around. I am feeling you. And I'm having to turn my brain to Faye, not Lahoma. I just want you to,
It's all the
know.
same. It's all the same.
But I'm feeling you, Faye. When you said that you are feeling for families that are going through this right now, I felt you feeling for families, right? And one of the things I want to honor about this whole experience is there's a softness. Like my neighbor I just got a text before our call from our neighbor just checking in on us to see how we're doing over here. And all of us are kind of um, observing this atmosphere of connection and family in terms of us checking on each other, like the idea and experience and feeling of family is
Right.
expanding. And it's interesting for me, as someone who's usually more introverted than not, to connect more in deeper conversations with more people at this time. So even in that way, that feeling of just connection and more meaningful connection is expanding and growing for me. And then the other thing that I want to just address in what you were saying too is honoring the surrealness of it all, and this is, for many, a really challenging time. And for all of us in one way or another, it's got challenges. But there's this other side of it that proves our faith. This is the opportunity to walk the walk. This is the opportunity to be present as whatever we hope to experience, right? That peace, that compassion, that self-compassion. One of the recurrent themes that have been coming up when I've been in conversation with people is that self-compassion, honoring boundaries that you may have just realized that you had. And with listening to you, that whole mind game of knowing what your tendencies and habits are, and kind of was finding the back door, right? Like finding a way to rewrite that kind of programming while honoring it being as it is, right? And growing through all of that. So I have consistently been affirming for my family, that's all of us, that we're not only gonna survive this, but we're gonna thrive as we're moving through it. And on the other side, it will actually be even better than before, in more ways than not. Right. And I hold that and trust and know that. And it's still beautiful to witness it happening in so many unexpected ways. So Faye, talk to me about maybe some of your experiences throughout all of this, or one in particular that you want to choose to really focus on in prayer and meditation.
Let's see. Choose one.
Say whatever comes up for you, and we'll naturally know which one. You'll feel which one is the strongest.
Okay, so I would say growing my business as a practitioner.
How exciting.
And just offering different services. I've noticed different friends, because they knew I was between families. And so they've been sending me, job posts and stuff. And it was like, okay, I could do that. And I had told them my criteria. But I noticed my willingness, I guess, to indulge them in the posts, or where there was a part of me that was kind of resistant anyway, that it was like, I really don't want to do this, but okay, they went through the trouble, they're sending it to me. And so it occurred to me, like in my meditation and stuff, where it was like, oh, I'm doing it again. I'm putting my focus on getting another job versus what makes my heart sing, what brings me alive, what is it that I truly want to do. And once I shifted that, the focus to that, then it was like I became aware, where it was like, oh, I've been so in the, I want more clients, I want to book more sessions. That's out there versus I do have clients and I have been booking sessions. And so it was like, oh, let me go from gratitude. Let me focus on what I do have. And so it was like, once I shifted that, then I literally, within the next morning, I saw an email.
That's right.
For someone booking a session. And I was like, that was easy. I was like,
yes.
I know what to do. And it's just a matter of actually remembering and doing it, the follow through.
Absolutely. Spreading that around. Again, spreading the same good vibes, good energy, that feeling tone of the yes around into more areas. And let me just say, I'm sitting with you and completely affirming and confirming this ability of ours to focus. It's like, I have this running joke. You kind of have to be nerdy to get it, but I say that my reticular activating system, that part of the brain that is set up to help us see what we choose to see. For example, when we decide we want a new car and we want it to be red and like this and like that, and we all of a sudden start seeing those, everywhere, right? That's an actual function of our brain. And I call it one of my angels because in terms of it being applicable in other areas, whenever I'm really focused on something, there's a part of me that is literally physically helping me realize that, right? So I'm seeing and sensing and deepening into what you're talking about in terms of growing your practice and feeling that sense of growth and thrivingness as you're doing that quality of offerings that you are here to do and share as your purpose as a practitioner. So yeah, with that thought, unless you have any more burning comments or things you want to share, with that thought, I'm going to just kind of glide right into a light meditation and prayer. What do you say?
That is perfect.
Yay. Okay. Well, I'm already really comfortable on my big beanbag cushion here. So I'm going to just invite you to get comfortable as possible. If you haven't already, turn your ringer off on your phone. And I'm going to use the sound of the ting shaws to just separate our time now and honor this shift into practice. You can go ahead and allow your eyes to close if you choose, or to come to rest on a single point of focus and gazing softly. Breathing more deeply now and feeling into the spine, allowing the shoulders to rest and drop away from the ears. We just feel our way into the present moment. Listening, welcoming all the sounds that are alive and present in the room, surrounding the house, resting, welcoming, and allowing the body to shift more fully and completely into its own natural and most comfortable position. Allowing the calm to wash over and completely through. Allowing the muscles of the forehead and the temples to be soothed, softened. The muscles around the eyes, within the eyes, and behind the eyes, all to relax into the present moment. Breathing and being alive in this moment. Wisdom of the ages, flow through me. Surrendering now, honoring the harmony of my will as divine will, as much as I hold this will in affirmation of life. Trusting now that my word becomes a living word, as much as I know my whole vibrational essence is merged as this one life force, now living, now thriving as I am. This wholeness and this experience of one point of focus is held within an infinity of untold bliss and abundance and right divine flow and harmony. I know that within this body and mind and being of this one I am, that there are things that I have come to do, and I am about it. With every breath, every intention, every desire held in place in knowing that there is a glorious future that calls me forward. This future is here and now, present in this moment. That this moment is, in fact, the only moment. This infinite unfolding now, expressing as my life ushers me naturally forward to the next best steps for me to take, the next best agreements for me to make. And I trust that my inclinations move me in the direction of a greater and unfolding good. This good is realized through my sense of purpose and through my sense of completion with each moment, with each breath, with each interaction and exchange of this greater flow of life. And I know with all of my instincts, all of my essence, that what is true for me is also true for Faye, for there can be only one infinite mind unfolding through the intelligence that is the one I know as Faye. This unfolding good is represented in, as, and through her abundant and thriving practitioner practice. For this soul has come with many gifts, and this willingness to give of this expression of love that she is in fact blessed by life itself giving itself as Faye. And so I know that all she intends for her practice must be blessed. And I know each and every soul that comes to her for her spiritual guidance, for her spiritual coaching, is one other way that the infinite shows up and dances through the interaction and exchange of itself as many. And I pray and breathe into this experience of grace and peace and confidence in the flow. And I fully expect that surprising good reveals itself right now, is in the pipeline and in flow, being delivered into Faye's awareness. And she grasps, receives, and is in fact a part of this flow in receiving this good. And it is ultimately delivering itself into a greater and even more unfolding financial good,
Yes.
a good of exchange in all ways, known and as yet unknown, as yet to be revealed, but trusting already knowing it to be so. And so I breathe deeply into this place of trust, this center of peace that surpasses understanding, that allows me to stand in the center of the chaos and observe, knowing that this storm is also one other way that life reveals its own good. On the other side is rainbows and sunshine and clear skies. And within the clarity of this light, Faye's unfolding path is revealed with great and certain clarity. And I know that what is true for Faye is true for all in a position of seeking and unfolding and greater good to be realized in their lives now. All within the sound of my voice and the sight of this recording can be still and know God is moving through every exchange. And in this greater good, I rest. I gratefully surrender and release. For I know and believe in a creative law that makes it so. This law is composed of an intelligence sometimes well beyond my own, but always moving in the direction of my good. And my good is simply good in and of itself. Resting and trusting and releasing this word, we can affirm it together by knowing and saying together. And so it is. And I'm going to end our prayerful meditation as I began with sound and breathing. Allowing the pace of the breath to return to normal. Allowing our gratitude to dance and expand through these sonic vibrations. We simply let it be. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With that thought, I am going to end our recording, hoping and trusting that this in some way is helpful to many, not just us, but to others like ourselves who are going through this. So thank you.
Thank you.